But like you said, everything is not easy. So how was that process?
I can't rent a place and start a bookstore, right? It's very risky, barely earn anything in the beginning, and books are expensive even to buy as inventory, right?
True.
So I was actually at the bookstore the entire time with a mat next to the counter, my baby playing in the floor.
How do you manage your time? Because making conversations with customers, that requires time investment, right?
Yes.
But then at the same time, running a bookstore, you have 100 other things to do. So how do you actually manage your time in a day? But do you have customers coming into the store and telling Amazon mein itna hai?
Yeah.
So, but why are you selling it at this cost? Amazon has it at this cost. Especially in Delhi, you step out, every single nook and corner has a as a vendor with a bench putting books out there, and for readers also has a perspective that if I can get this book in 50 rupees, they don't really care if it is original or not, because the content is ultimately the same. What is the best feedback you got from the bookstore?
And one very nice thing that happened was one of the authors who came in, they were like, this is a place where I can sit and write my next book. I was like, yes!
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of The Next Show with Naghma, and today with me I have a special guest. We all, readers especially, have a dream that at some point in our life we want a cozy bookstore, have a cafe there, and this is a dream that we all, I think, for me personally, it was a dream from the time I was a child that I someday on the mountain, a wooden cabin, a fireplace somewhere, have a huge amount of bookshelves, run it as a bookstore, have a cafe in the corner. So it just remained as a dream. Never really did anything about it. But what if there are people who are actually doing it? That's something very exciting to know, right? How did they start their bookstore? What was the reasons behind starting the bookstore? So today I have with me Disha, the owner of Chapters Bookstore in Gurgaon, Delhi NCR. And today my intention is that she inspires me in the future to start my own bookstore someday in the future. Disha, welcome to the next show.
Thank you, Naghma. Thank you so much.
How has your experience been? Finally, that your childhood dream came true.
It's been quite good, frankly. It definitely has been a roller coaster ride. Any business that you start is always like that. But yes, it wasn't, as stressful as any other thing that I've done so far, because it was really so close to my heart, right? And I don't know what to call it. Whether I should call it a childhood dream or a teenage dream. And I don't even know the timeline when it actually came to my mind. But other than bookstore, I always wanted to be surrounded by books. In fact, I and my husband have this running joke that when we met and we were just talking, and he showed me a picture of his house, and there was a very big bookshelf there. I think that's when I decided
green flag.
Yeah, because that was like a dream place for me. Had it not been there, the decision would have been different.
I hope your husband is not watching this. Sorry.
No, just kidding. But that is definitely one of the common things that we had. And but yes, I definitely wanted a library of my own.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity presented itself, I've been I worked in corporate for about 13-14 years. And I think I already wanted to switch to something that I'm passionate about, and I took a leap of faith. After really opening Chapters, when I met such wonderful people like yourself who walked in, who spent time talking to me, I realized that it's actually a dream of so many people.
Yeah.
Right? And I think some people become medium of manifesting things. So that's what happened. I still can't believe, like, it's 6-month journey so far, and I still can't believe I'm running my own bookstore. And but truly, I think it's a worthy risk, because I really don't know what will happen in the future. It's a very difficult thing in today's age to maintain a retail shop, that to a bookshop. So every point is a testing point, frankly. But I think I'm enjoying the ride.
That's really, and congratulations on finally having that dream fulfilled into a physical form, in a physical form of a bookstore. But I'm sure from outside, on the surface level, when anybody looks at it, even me for that matter, it looks like, wow, she's living your dream. But like you said, everything is not easy. So, how was that process? Because I'm sure you had your dream for a long while, but actually putting that into a business plan, getting a place, getting it sorted, that's a long journey. So, how has that experience been, and what exactly did you do when you decided, no, I am going to open my bookstore? So,
Okay.
what did you do?
So actually, the first deciding point was I definitely knew that I can't rent a place and start a bookstore, right? It's very risky, you barely earn anything in the beginning, and books are expensive even to buy as inventory, right?
True.
So I'm like, we invested in this place just for the sake of it, and then it just struck me that, when I have my own place, rather than renting it out, why am I not doing what I always wanted to do, right?
True.
So, but that was just a decision point. After that, when very clearly remember 1 week before the launch of the bookstore, I got cold feet and I called my father and I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? I am very happy reading my books at my home. I can very well, take a break from work and just read and nothing else. It just feels very scary. Why would anybody come to my bookstore, right? And what if I'm not able to give the kind of books or material, because everybody has different taste in books, right? And I don't come from generational wealth or anything like that I can have huge inventory. I can't compete with Baharis and the crosswords of the world. So what if I'm not able to really put things right? Then he just told me that, see, that's a point that you don't get to decide now. You've already started the journey, so now you can do your work honestly. And so I said, okay, now no more
Good,
thinking.
supportive.
Yeah. And same was with my husband. Like, he always told me that, see, if you don't do this right now, like, a few years down the line, or maybe when you're like old, and you will just keep on wondering that why the hell you didn't do it, right? So, but yeah, the starting was very difficult. I think for anybody who like, whenever somebody says that they want to have a bookstore of their own, the ideal image that we have in our mind is that, don't disturb me, I just want to spend my life with my books, right? And maybe have like a coffee corner, or maybe some people dream of a plant shop or a flower shop with it, because in our mind it's the peace that we need, right? But it's not peaceful at all.
There comes the operations. Yes.
Because the biggest thing that you will face is staff. People management. Across my corporate career and now the bookstore, I realized people management is the toughest thing you can do. Plus, when you have a bookstore, and like mine, like you have a coffee area as well, you need people who understand what you're selling, right? It's not it's not a third wave or a Starbucks that specializes in coffee. It's not a Bahari Sons that specializes in such big inventory management, and those guys know their stuff, right? Or any of the bookstores that you see, they've been operational since a very long time. So and with only very little amount of money, that you can't hire different people for different jobs, you need to be really, really vigilant about what you're doing, right? So and unfortunately, the kind of manpower you get, it's not very stable. I've heard from my peers in the same market who've had like their staff just get like going absent after a week of work, and just not telling them that they're not coming back. I faced that challenge. I mean, there was like about while I had help at home, but there was a very big patch of 2 months where I had no help at home. Then I had my barista had quit without any notice, and my parents had to travel. So there was no babysitting as well. So I was actually at the bookstore the entire time with a mat next to the counter, my baby playing in the floor, and I was just like taking care of her, taking care of the customers, doing cleaning, taking orders, making coffee, billing, everything you can imagine in that place. So while that was, I think, the toughest time, and I don't know how my child also supported me in that by being with me 12 hours a day in the store. but that also gave me like such good hands-on experience, right? That today, I hope that doesn't happen again, but at least I know that if I have to, I can do everything, right? And but that's something that you need to be really prepared for. You can't imagine, you won't be able to just sit in your bookstore and read books, that's for sure. I mean, I know that my speed and my frequency of reading has gone down drastically.
Yeah, because you're held up in doing a lot of other things.
Yes, you have to do inventory management, not just management, but basically you have to be. I have to do a lot of curation also, because I just can't order the list that is coming from the publisher, the entire list, or whatever the distributor is sending, because of the limited space. I need to know what I want to keep, right? And you need to be engaging with the customers. You need to know the books that you are keeping. So whenever I get time, a lot of times I'm reading the books that I don't want to read.
Okay. Because you need to technically understand the books also.
Yes.
That's interesting. I mean, I think that's a thing that comes with every profession. Let it be a designer, let it be anybody. The moment you have it as your career path also, then you end up doing a lot of it, which you still have to do it, but that's not really your preference. So during this preparation stage, when you made your plan, you're getting your bookstore ready, if you have to tell me like step by step, this is what you did. Initially, I'm sure you would have had a plan. Then you would have sorted out your finance. But after that, what? Once you had a space, because you told me you bought that space, right? Then how was your journey like? What did you do? When did you do what?
So I think the first thing, if anybody is also looking to follow the same journey, you really need to understand what market are you stepping into, right? If the neighborhood, if there are other bookstores, it doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't have yours, because it's always good to have more bookstores,
of course,
right? So, but you really need to know that are people that are stepping into that area, that market, are they the kind of people who read?
True.
Because for a retail space, if you don't have footfall, it's just dead.
Yeah, true.
Right? Then you need to also understand your capacity. I mean, luckily for me, I have no bias against any genre. I read anything.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you are a person who, say for example, who you only like fiction, and if you can afford to open a fictionary, that's golden.
Yeah.
Right? Or for that matter, there are people who step, like, there were some customers who came in and said, oh, you should keep, coffee table books, or you should keep very, limited edition books that people don't get anywhere. I know they're telling me with a good intention, but they don't understand, then I will not survive with that. Right?
Neither you have the space, managing inventory becomes a problem.
Yeah. So you can't have favorites.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a lot of money to burn and experiment, then by all means. But not if you're like me.
True.
Right? And then that the other point of the other thing that you need to understand is you really need to understand the entire ecosystem. Right? It's not just because when you are in the book business, you need to understand where is the book coming from.
Yeah.
What is the entire supply chain? What are the people you need to know?
True.
Right? Because the moment you open a store, there are so many distributors who will come to you.
Yeah.
Right? And they will try to influence you. I've faced that. People say, oh, this is best selling, this is best selling, this is. I tried keeping those books, but they never really sold.
Yeah, true.
Right? So I'm sure you face that a lot, because you are working with so many of the people in the system. So you really need to know. Your gut feeling also should be strong about books. Plus, you should be able to read the people around you.
Yeah.
Right? And you should be able to have good conversations, because it's not just about talking to the supply side of your business. It's a lot about talking to the customers that are coming
also.
Yes.
Which I completely agree, because even personally also I felt one of the best parts about your bookstore, the very first time you came in, of course the ambience was so lovely. Anybody goes in there, the coffee space is amazing. And I think my very first visit to your store was during Christmas.
Yes.
So of course you had a Christmas tree right in the center. So that was like brilliant. But then other than that, there's something that even my personal reasons recommending the bookstore to a lot of people in and around has majorly been because of the conversations that you had at the bookstore. Yes, you're going to to buy one book. But then if you have somebody inside that store to whom you can talk about your insecurities within books, that's like a crazy thing. You don't get to do that outside. So how do you manage your time? Because making conversations with customers, that requires time investment, right?
Yes.
But then at the same time, running a bookstore, you have 100 other things to do. So how do you actually manage your time in a day?
I think it's a good but a difficult question to answer, frankly, for me, because I am a people person and I am often guilty of getting too consumed into conversations. You know that.
Yeah, very much.
I think that was the longest streak of about 2-3 hours of
3 hours.
sitting and talking.
3 plus.
Yes. I mean, you definitely, one has to be aware that you can't just, again, you can't have favorites.
Yeah.
You need to give all your people equal time. In fact, you need to be very quick in understanding the person.
Yeah.
Right? There are people who don't want to talk to you. They just want to go. They just let me explore.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what I want. Right? There was this one mother. She had come with her son, and I was like, as always, bubbling to tell what you should read. And then I go to the kid and I tell him this, and his mother is like, he will pick what he wants. I was like, okay, ma'am. So, that's there. And then there are people like you who also love, reciprocating, and we share thoughts and recommendations. So, you need to be a people person. There are people who love to read, who would still might want to have a bookstore, but they're introverts. This is not an introvert's job at all.
True.
Or you should have the money to hire somebody who's the face of your bookstore, who does all the conversations, right? Because that is also your source of feedback.
Yeah.
Right? And that is a source of not just the experience, but also what more you should bring to the store. Right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, people person is the biggest thing. And it's not just about the bookstore, frankly, Naghma. I've been talking to so many people since I stepped into this, from like, be it a designer studio, be it a cafe, or, every other thing. Because of quick commerce and because of so much online shopping, any kind of retail store anybody wants to open, you need to be ready to invest in creating an experience. You need to be ready to speak to the people that are coming in.
Very much, because otherwise you have everything. Blinkit gives you books. I don't have to wait for Amazon's next day order. I literally can get my book 5 minutes in my hand.
You won't believe, there was this one book, I won't name it. I wanted to read it myself and have it for the store also, but there was quite a gap between me actually getting it in my store. I was so tempted to order from Blinkit, and I only know how I just kept myself from doing that. But it is a very big competition.
It is.
Not just in terms of speed, but also in terms of cost.
It is true.
Yes.
So do you get this question? Because people come generally, because in bookstores, it's very rare you get a discount. Normally we don't, because bookstores cannot afford to give discounts. But do you have customers coming into the store and telling, Amazon mein itna hai?
Yeah.
So, but why are you selling it at this cost? Amazon has it at this cost. How many customers like that do you get, and how do you manage that?
I wish I had a penny.
For every such customer.
Yes, I could have funded the next thing that I wanted to do.
Oh my God. Yeah, true.
Yeah, but that happens, and I always expected that, frankly. But my only answer is, the best I do is maybe, some seasonal thing. I tell them that I do have discount. You have to come at the right time.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I'm very open for them to, I say, okay, you explore, let's talk about books, and if you wish you want to order from Amazon, you can. But here, you will get the experience of exploring everything. Yeah. Right? Online, you need to know that what you want to buy. And you should be able to have the risk to receive whatever you get.
Which is the biggest risk.
Yes. You don't know if it's a genuine book, if it's a copy, what's the quality. I've been disappointed a lot of times.
A lot of times.
Right? So, and I don't have the patience to really trace where the book is coming from. So, if there are people who do that, then well and good.
Yeah.
If you get access to books, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Right?
But what does happen in general? Like, for example, running a bookstore, this is one of the biggest challenges. And the best reason for readers going to a bookstore is that they know that they're getting the good quality, good original books. But India is a very sensitive market, especially in terms of money, because we know that especially in Delhi, you step out, every single nook and corner has a as a vendor with a bench putting books out there, and for readers also has a perspective that if I can get this book in 50 rupees, they don't really care if it is original or not, because the content is ultimately the same. So how do you think overall as a market, as a country, how do you think this can actually be tackled? Have you ever thought about it?
Definitely. See, I think this is a problem that almost every category is facing, right? Counterfeits or whatever you may call it. There are pre-loved books also, but when you start on this journey, you should have the stomach to really accept that your market is not the entire readers market of India. It's a very niche market, right? People who like to purchase originals, people who like to maintain them, and people who like to give due credit to the authors and to the entire value chain that has brought that book to you. This might sound a bit rude, but that is the reality. That whatever content, be it a digital content that you're consuming or a physical content, as genuine customers, it's our duty to give our due, right? True. But it's also fair to understand that people need access to things, and they would do whatever is their best in their capacity. So that's okay. Right? So whenever you're creating your business plan, be very honest. Don't be in that dream world of just being around books. Be very real about what is the number of people you are actually going to get. And if that segment helps you break even, say in X amount of time, and you have that kind of bandwidth, runway, then go ahead with that. If not, then you start thinking about what value added services you're going to provide. Like I added coffee, right? Now, that while that is not the primary selling product, but that gives me some cushion. Right? So similarly, everybody can think of their own. For example, I really admire what Fictionary is doing. Right? They were very bold in going ahead with only fiction, but they keep on having some of the other events, right? And the entire and luckily, it's the fiction that sells more. Right?
Always.
Yes. So they've done a very smart thing in basically just targeting on something that is already selling more. Right? And they're not spending on non-fiction. That's perfectly fine. So you really need to understand that what you need to tap on and how much burn you can afford. Basically doing things. Otherwise, I would say anything that you can convert into, like, what Netflix did. Right? There was always piracy. There was everything. But they made it so cheap and accessible. All the OTT platforms, basically, that now we don't go back to torrents and we don't think about downloading pirated stuff. So if you can crack something like that, well and good. But then doing that in a physical space is a bit tough.
More challenging.
Yes. So how much you can reinvent, even I'm trying to solve that equation.
True, very true. So with chapters especially, 6 months is not a big time. But then, because I regularly visit, I keep following the page, you've done a lot of events. Your center, like you said, you are a people's person, and I personally feel the biggest reason why people love coming back to the store is the experience that you're able to curate for them. And by curation, I also mean the kind of events, the kind of interactions, the kind of workshops that you have been doing at the store. Is this a conscious decision, or is it also at the same time a crowdsourced, crowdfunded? How do you exactly manage your events?
That kind of goes into the unwritten vision statement with chapters, frankly. When I started this, a very important pillar was creating a community. Okay. And how do you create that? By actually bringing people over, and not just with the intention of selling your stuff, but also coming together and doing things together, right? That is also one of the things that I really like. Anybody who knows me or has worked with me knows that how much I enjoy doing all of these activities, right? So that's part passion and part, of course, the thing that, I believe reading in isolation is, of course, good. But when you have people you can talk books with, you can talk stories with, it just enhances your experience.
Very
like
true.
anything, right? So that kind of organically became a part of the entire offering. It definitely is very difficult because you need to be constantly you need to constantly come up with creative things. People can't come back to the same thing every time.
Of course.
So again, talking to people, getting feedback, reading more, because it's not that if I have like a simple book signing, it will be very easy for me to do. But if I understand what the book is about, right? Even if it's not my favorite, favorite topic to read about, but there is a book, like I have a strong belief that there is a book for everybody, and there's a reader for every book.
Every single book.
Yes. So you automatically, if you have that vision, you'll always get ideas of what to continue to do, right?
According to you, what's the best event that you've done? Like, what was the biggest feedback that you've got about the events, and what, according to you, was the best one so far?
Actually, I think my Women's Day event I really loved.
Amazing.
Because I mean, definitely for the kind of speakers who came in, but the kind of energy that was created that day, right? I mean, the kind of irreverent conversations and uninhibited topics that were discussed, it thoroughly energized me. And thankfully the speakers had a good time, but the audience, the participants also said that they kind of felt that they were engaged in something more personal, right? And that's what I want. I mean, I always believe in thinking like a customer. So I know what kind of experience I want to be a part of. So I'm not trying to contradict myself by saying that I go by my favorites. But definitely there are some key things that anybody would want, right? If they're spending to come to your place, they want that kind of value out of it. It's not just that I'm randomly putting price tag on certain
the
things.
Experience.
Yes.
Oh, that is true.
So that was, I think, one of the best things. And that vision workshop also that we did, I really liked it because frankly that I also got to participate.
That's the biggest thing.
Yes, and there were so many hilarious conversations and so many commonalities we saw among all of us. That's what we really want to achieve. So, and I felt that all of us were giving energy to each other. There was no competition. Right? So that was quite positive.
Interesting. What is the best feedback you got from the bookstore? Let it be about anything, events, talk, coffee, anything. But what's the best feedback that you got which made your 1,000 days?
So there was this one person who came in, and I was not at the store. But my barista told me that he came in, he just looked around and had tears in his eyes. And then he took my phone number and he called me, and then he told me that your bookstore has actually humbled me.
Wow.
I was like, what? I still have goosebumps when I talk about it, because he said that I had a very testing corporate career, and I just recently quit my job, and I'm just trying to get into the new thing. But I was in I just was not feeling that respite anywhere. But I just came here and I had just a very good feeling that I am at a nice place and I can just sit here and just think. So I was like, wow, what do I say?
But that's actually beautiful.
Yes.
That's like somebody telling you that you've done a good job and successfully.
Yes.
Like you said, because that's your vision. It's not ultimately about the revenue. Yes, of course, money is important. You need revenue to survive, keep running this. But if the focus of a person like you has always been people, them reading more, them being more happy, then this is like brilliant. Congratulations.
Thank you. But you know,
great.
one interesting thing, Naghma, with this, I mean, this entire journey is telling me this thing, that if you're really honest with your effort, you never feel like you are doing anything.
True.
Right? I mean, suppose like when you say good things about chapters, or when anybody says good things, I know that it's their thought they're bringing in. There's something is reflecting the way they want to see it, right? And they always leave me with some positive either notes or some feedback that I can improve. So I believe that is contributing towards building the entire thing.
True.
Right?
True.
So I think that's the magic that I didn't expect that I will experience.
Interesting. Talking about that magic, I believe everybody absorbs things differently from a place. The way you would have built something, thinking you would have had a vision and you would have put that into a physical form. But as a customer, when somebody walks in, they would get something else altogether out of that same space that you would have created. You might not even have thought about it. Is there something so, I wouldn't call it weird, but then so crazy that somebody just came in and told about the shop in a good way, but you never thought about it?
Actually, I would say, I mean, the one that I mentioned, that was quite overwhelming for me because uh, I never thought it will had that kind of effect, right? It could be somebody can say, oh, some people say you have a good collection of books, some people say you have good coffee, and things like that, or they like a particular corner of the bookshop. But this deep reaching impact is quite. I never thought it will happen. And one very nice thing that happened was one of the authors who came in, they were like, this is a place where I can sit and write my next book. I was like, yes,
that's so cool.
Please come do it, and I just want to watch you do it.
Oh my god, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Talking of that same thing, I mean, as a reader, we always, as a reader, fantasized about meeting our authors. I'm sure with a bookstore right now, you own a bookstore. I'm sure you have a lot of authors coming into the store. Now, tell me this. Now, from your point of view, does the authors coming to the store and meeting people, does it actually create an impact?
A very big impact, frankly, because people, want to meet the person who's writing that, creating that magic, right? And I don't think you can ever, underplay that kind of a curiosity, right? And oftentimes, and somebody who has not been to any of these events, they might not understand it as much. This feeling might be just restricted to a couple of favorite authors, maybe. But I think with every author event that has happened, there are so many interesting conversations that have come out.
True, always.
And I have not seen anybody go, with a sullen face or disappointed or. There have been times that the person didn't end up buying the book that was being discussed, but that's fine. But they always went back saying, "Yeah, I had a very good conversation," right? So, and I think it's very important for authors to do it. I know nearly all of them are doing it, but it's very important for them to continue doing it because. People there are some authors who are gem of persons, when even if you're not aware of their work, it has happened to me that I've had a few conversations with them and they've inspired me as people, so that made me buy their book. Otherwise I might not have picked their book, right? It might not have struck me as something at that moment, but and I think that's something that's very, as a bookstore, definitely it's important because you need to engage the readers. But as an author, it's definitely a goal.
Part of their marketing also.
Yeah, marketing, definitely. Yeah. Otherwise, see, it's anyways difficult for debut authors, especially. You can't afford to not meet people. You have to bring your work out there. But even the polished ones, I've seen, I'm not naming anybody, but there are a few polished, like very senior writers who might not be selling as much, right? It's not because what they wrote is not good. It's because people might not know what is there, and might not know where is that story coming from. Why should they read it? Right? And unlike all the film and the entertainment news we don't get news about books.
We never get news about the books. That's true.
So how else would people come to know about
That's true. Interesting. What has your biggest learning been?
Biggest learning from the bookstore, I would say. I mean, you have to be like very consistent and you have to have a lot of patience. Lot of patience, because there will be days where there'll be zero sale.
Okay.
And because when you running, when you have a certain runway, you have divided it into daily targets, right? So some days can be extremely torturous, where you see nothing happening, and there can be a streak of that, right? But that can't deter you from doing your daily tasks, right? I even remember that, there was one day when I was feeling very overwhelmed, and I just, like, one of those days where you want just to just run away and just cry and just let it all out, right? And I knew if anybody would step in right now and they'll see my face, they'll run away. What is wrong with this woman, right? So I just could not afford to do that. So you have to be at the top of your game. You can't have, you just can't play favorites. You can't. There are so many things that you will have to do that as a reader you might not want. And at times, like right now, I was trying to read a couple of books, but I was so tired of reading that I just didn't feel like. Right? So be prepared for that.
For all the ups and downs.
For all the ups and downs, because it doesn't remain your hobby anymore. It becomes a business after that. So
it's always a tough thing when you try to commercialize in a good way, commercialize your passion or your hobby. Yeah, it's difficult to sustain. It is indeed true. What has your support system been like? Because running a bookstore is, any retail for that matter, because you're working on weekends, you don't have holidays anymore. This is not possible. I mean, you can always hire staff, but then that's not enough. You need your own support pillars to be able to run that show. What does your support system look like?
My support system, I think, definitely my family. Most importantly, my husband, right, who made sure that, I have that courage to really jump in and do it. And my parents, because I am a very high touch mother. It's very difficult for me to leave my kid, only, even if it is just with a nanny, right? So, and I know how much they have sacrificed over the last 1 year, not just the 6 months, in helping me out in certain ways. My sister says she's been so important with me because she's done all the branding of the of chapters, and the days I'm not able to do, I'm busy, she says that she'll step in and she'll go. And I know, like, she, given a chance, she would want to do everything. She's such a sweetheart, but she supports me in the best capacity. Then everybody, like, who's associated with me, like, Alina, who's looking after she just appeared out of nowhere. And she just liked the concept so much that she wanted to just come in and, partner with me into looking after things. Nima, who's my barista, he's a support system. And I mean, he himself enjoys reading, so I love discussing books with him. I think that saying of, it takes a village. So your business is like your baby, so that also needs a village. In fact, some of my customers have been so generous. In that phase in which I had to take my daughter to work all the days, every day, there were a couple of people who were sitting there every day and working. And I was so conscious that, they'll just say that, refund my money and I'm not sitting here in your co-working space, your daughter. But they were so sweet. They were like, don't worry at all. Your kid is very nice. And even if she's playing, we don't mind. Right? They understood that I am in a challenge at that point. So, like I said, I think it was like everybody coming together.
The power of manifestation.
Exactly. And you can't do it yourself. You just can't. It has to be a community effort.
Amazing. What next for you? Do you have plans in future to expand, open another bookstore maybe, or you have bigger plans for the current existing store?
No, definitely. I mean, I'm frankly taking it as it comes. There are so many things that I want to do for chapters. I want to have more bookshelves. I want to have bigger events, right? But I'm in no hurry. I'm in no hurry at all. Yes, I just one things, and even in my consulting years, and the other parts that I've worked on, the thing that I realized is the sustainable model, sustainable business go far. Right. So that's my goal, and I want everybody who's associated with chapters to feel happy. So even I close the shop on holidays. Right. So I need a break. My staff needs a break.
Of course.
If they're not happy, if I'm not happy, how am I going to make people happy? Right.
True.
That's a risk that I'm taking,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a risk I want to take.
Which makes sense also.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has their different ways of running things, but once your customers know that this day the book is going to be closed, this day of the week you cannot go there, then that's a routine that you're talking about.
I mean, I really, compliment Bookshop Inc. in that manner. They shut at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's very daring. And that makes quite a statement that everybody needs a time off, right?
That is true. That is true. So now, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would want to follow the path that you have taken. If there is certain tips or certain things that you've experimented, tried, figured and worked for you, that if you want to give it as gems of thoughts to others who would want to follow the same path, what would that be?
I think I'm at the risk of repeating myself. Don't go in if you only have certain if you just like reading.
Yeah.
If you don't have a bone to understand business, don't go into it. Right? Get a membership of a bookstore like Chapters.
Yeah.
Spend as much time as you want around books.
Yeah.
But it's not for the faint-hearted. Right? And people management is not going to get easier.
Yeah.
It's going to get tougher and tougher. Things are not going to get cheaper. They're going to get more expensive. So be very sure that you have enough moolah, right, to put in, and then step in, and then be very patient for a certain amount of time.
True.
Right? Read as much as you can.
Yeah.
These are the biggest things that you can do. Everything else, if you're making an honest effort, if you're making a nice place, everybody else would come in automatically to partner.
Yeah.
Right? And just don't be in your shell.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Disha. That's a lot of conversations. We keep talking to a lot of authors, but it's always so refreshing because authors need a place to sell their books, and that's a bookstore ultimately at the end of the day. Thank you so much for being with us today, and I hope whoever has watched this episode gets a bit of inspiration, a bit of tips, tricks, whatever you call it, their form of jugaad to ensure that they get a little closer to their dream, and whatever it could be. It doesn't have to be just the bookstore. It can be anything. If Disha can do this, anybody can do it.
I give that back to you as well. Author's Nest.
Oh absolutely. My God. Thank you so
That's
much.
A very courageous thing you're doing, and you're actually filling a very big gap.
Yeah.
That is there for the authors and for everybody, who wants to get access to things. Yeah.
Exactly like you said. Once you want to do something, if your intentions are at the proper place, people just gather, and that's been the best thing. Thank you so much for joining in today. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and have an amazing reading time after this. Thank you.
Thank you.